that.
No. Everybody got your mics on?
Yes.
Got it. Yep. The work session of the Isabella County Board of Commissioners to order. Stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Here.
Commissioner Embry,
Here.
Commissioner Jelzinski,
Here.
Commissioner Engler,
Here.
Commissioner Marina,
Here.
Commissioner Swaney,
Here.
Commissioner Hope,
Here.
all present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Up next would be approval of the agenda. We'll start out with general public comments. We have no presentations or special reports, no appointments to boards or commissions. Brings us down to committee reports. Administration Committee.
Finance Administration Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
The Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a quick comment is that in committee, we decided to move the Farmland 116 agreements to the regular meeting. As we've always supported that, and it goes through Planning Commission, it goes through the clerk's office, and it goes through our committee. So we moved that directly to regular meeting, bypassing the work session.
Sounds good. Pretty routine stuff. So, yeah. Thank you. Brings us to Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee is all set, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have no intergovernmental affairs, no administrator controller issues. Under unfinished business, have just a discussion item on the Johnson Controls Performance Contracting project. And then new business, we're going to consider approving the 2023 apportionment report. And then we will have general public comments again, and then announcements and adjournment. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Support. Hutchinson. Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. We have an agenda. Brings us down to general public comments. Anyone for general public comment?
Nothing from Dr. Bills? Oh.
Okay, I don't see anyone for general public comment. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. We'll keep moving right along down to committee reports, Finance Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have consider ratifying and placing on file the September 29, 2023 invoice list in the amount of $139,696.40. The October 6, 2023 invoice list in the amount of $3,505,394.45, and the adjustment list dated October 12th, 2003. On the first one, again, the procedure that we use is the bills come into the department heads and elected officials. They get reviewed at that level, goes to administration. Administration passes by email to all the members of the county board. And they then go to committee for another review and to the work session now. So many eyes look at it. Going on now with the September 29th, the list, not a big dollar amount for the county as we usually have. And all of the, except for the RJ Thomas, there's a $5,600 payment for picnic table frames and grills for the park, Isabella County Parks Department. All the rest of them are very customary contractual agreements. We have integrated architecture payment, public defender appointment payments, and so on. I didn't see anything in those few bills that exceed the 5,000 or in the body of the bills that under 5,000 that I would have questions on, but Is anybody else? Then moving on to the October 6th list, we have a few more dollars involved with this one with $3,505,394.45. However, there's one to Clark Construction, almost $3 million. So that is construction charges for the Sheriff's Office Correctional Facility, which is ongoing. And then as I look down on the rest of the bills, again, very familiar to myself, and probably to every member of the board, because we see them time and time again. But we'll ask, do you have any questions or comments about any of those bills? All right, moving on to the adjustment list. The adjustment list comes to make corrections or additions to the invoice list that we've just covered. And those are usually added to take advantage of an early payment or to avoid a late fee. Every once in a while, there's an outliner. For example, like moving sales tax. But I don't see anything in any of the adjustments that raise concern on my part. Any other questions or comments on the adjustment list? Hearing none, we'll move this item to the main meeting this evening.
Second item for the Finance and Administration Committee is to consider approving the prime contract change order number 11 with Clark Construction in the net additional amount of $76,694 and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. As we all know, with the construction of the correctional facility and sheriff's office, there are changes that come in through Clark Construction, and some of them cost us money. Some of them allow us discounts and reductions in the cost. But in this case, we have a additional cost of $76,694. This amount will be taken from our contingency line rather than our buyout line that is accumulated with the Clark Construction through previous deductions and value engineering efforts, as you would say. We do have Heidi, I believe, is with us. There she is. Heidi, how are you?
Good evening. How is everybody?
Well, turn this over to her to enlighten us further.
Okay. Mr. Embry, I wanted to make a quick correction. So we are still taking items from buyout. We have not at this time taken anything from contingency.
Right. From buyout versus contingency. Great.
Yeah. So I just want to make that quick correction. So,
Okay.
So our change order here for the amount, as Mr. Embry had said, was $76,694. And those changes came about from some reworking of some food service equipment in the kitchen for the jail. We also had some new additions, gas monitoring in the Sally Port. That was a code required option, or not option, and needed in that area. And with that, included some exhaust fans, some steel, and some working of the roof. So, so that's some of the added costs there. We also had a deduct, some of allowance from one of the contractors. We switched how we were providing the louver for the rec room. And so we actually had a savings there for the project, which that was a savings of about $6,000. Yeah, $6,765. And then we also had a credit from changing how we were building up a couple things. We switched out using concrete and switched it over to geofoam to fill in voids. So we had a savings there of $450. And we found when we were looking through some things that there was an area in the detention cell area where we had exposed metal deck. Those have flutes in there. So you had a spot where potential area where inmates could store contraband or anything else. And so we made a cost savings idea of taking steel plates and covering that, so we didn't have any problems down the road for the sheriff. So, so that all those items there totaled the $76,694.
Thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome.
Do we have any questions for Heidi? Seeing none, we'll move this item to our regular board meeting this evening.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
The next item is consider approving a 90-day extension to the current agreement for animal shelter services between the Humane Animal Treatment Society, which is HATS, and Isabella County, such that the current agreement will expire December 31st, 2023. I think last year we had a brief extension as the contract details were being worked out between administration and HATS, and this is the same type of request. I don't think there's anything exceptional about it. They just need a little bit more time to finalize the contract to bring before the county board. Anything you want to add to that, Madam Administrator?
No, that was very succinct. Very succinct, Commissioner. Thank you.
Any questions? If not, we'll move this end to our meeting tonight.
Our final item is to consider approving the proposed resolution number 2023-08 in support of local control of solar and wind power project advancement and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. I think you guys all have a copy of this. It's again, support for local control. I know the state has been pushing for taking control of where they're going to put solar and where they're going to put wind power and several other, aggregate being one of them. I personally feel that it's very important that local control be maintained. But again, I'll open it up for discussion. Yes, sir.
You know, I think we're all in favor of energy independence and diversity of energy supplies. And I think this county has been very forward in looking at our wind turbines. We got two wind farms in the county, and I think we're moving towards solar. But I agree with Commissioner Embry. I think we need to have the local control. It's important, I think, for the county.
I think probably this was born out of a frustration of there's so much opposition to any project, wind or solar, and a lot of astroturfed groups fighting any project that comes along. And I think the state has some goals of energy independence. And this is frustrating their efforts, I'm sure. But I think that local control over what we do here in the county trumps that. I think that's more important. So that's just my take on it.
Gentlemen, Mr. Marino.
Yeah, I remember the fight to get our wind farm going, and there was outside groups coming in, and there was personal attacks, there was misinformation, there was lies and all that stuff. And so I think that's what this is aimed at. I do support it, but I also hope that there can be some flexibility and compromise, to change this law somewhat. Because really, if not, I don't think we're going to make the goal of being energy net zero, for energy, if we don't change something the way it is right now.
All right, commissioners, we'll move this item to our regular board meeting this evening.
With that, Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee for this evening.
Thank you, commissioners. And that brings us to Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
First item is consider approving the fiscal year 2023 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement in the total amount of $25,084. And we have Director Marcus Griffiths and Helen Lee, Coordinator, here to tell us about the grant.
Good evening, Commissioners. So this is the part of the grant where they actually give us the money. So before we signed the work agreement 9 months ago, this is the part where they tell us how much money we can get. This year's amount has not changed. The total award is $25,084. mimicking last year's amount. This year's amount had to be made up from two different pots of money that came from the federal award and from the state. You'll see that articulated in the grant. So the report from them is for $25,084. That's how much we're receiving for all the work that we did last year. There's also under other considerations a breakdown exactly where the supplemental ARPA award is versus the original funding. Still keeping it between the 30 and 36% that we annually see. You've seen this for 18 plus years.
Any questions about approving this grant money? All right, we'll move this on to the regular session tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have consider approving the contract between Isabella County Central Dispatch and Lamar dated September 29th, 2023, in the amount of $29,500 and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. And I believe kind of an accounting error and just missed a timing, so.
Correct. This was the end of the fiscal year, just a contract that was able to be executed and secure the digital advertising at the two locations described. So we'll be able to recruit more people to sign up for emergency warning, have the public information, do that a kind of proactive things to let people know. We actually had messaging up on it. If you remember just a little while ago, FEMA did the test that set off every cell phone in the nation to the best of their ability. So that's the kind of emergent information, plus trying to get people to sign up and keep connected with our county as to what's doing for preparedness and stuff. That's what the billboard will be.
Okay, any questions? And it was in the 911 budget, so there's just really no cost adjustment. Any more questions? Seeing none, we'll move this forward to the regular board meeting.
Very much, commissioners.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, third item, consider approving the Community Corrections Fiscal Year 2024 grant award between Isabella County and the Michigan Department of Corrections in the amount of $104,091. We have the court administrator, Garrett Curtis, and then of course in that subcommittee, we had Andrew Foster, the corrections coordinator.
Andy is on Zoom behind.
Oh,
I'm right here.
Andy Foster.
oh, he's I don't see his lovely face. He's blacked out.
I'm blacked out. Sorry about that. I don't know how to unblack it out. You're gonna have to not see me, I guess. Sorry.
This is a pretty standard grant award. I will say that it's the most we've ever gotten for this particular grant. So we're very excited about that. That's through a lot of hard work of Andy and Mary, who run this program. Other than the standard programming, last year we started the opiate meth specific program late in the year. So we have an extra $20,000 to dedicate to that program, which will serve 5 people in our community with everything they need through collaboration with TRICAP to hopefully make that difference in their lives. So we're very excited to continue that. Andy can tell you a little bit more about how many people are currently in it and how they are doing if you're interested in that.
So last year we had 5 enrollments in the OMSP TRICAP program. 3 of them walked away. There's 2 of them that are still there currently, and 1 that have enrolled already this year. So we're moving forward on this year's grant already. It seems to be working for the ones that are there. So if they stay, it works for them. We can't make them stay. It's kind of their option to leave or stay, but it doesn't cost anything for them to walk away. So if they're just there for $125 assessment and then they walk away, it's, we can use those funds elsewhere. So other than that, the rest of the grant looks similar to years past with the pretrial services and assessment. So, and of course the Thinking Matters program. Any questions?
in a subcommittee, we had a long conversation about the TRICAP, and it's 150 days. And so an intensive program for these individuals. And so it's not surprising to have, 3 out of the 5 walk away. But obviously, if we can have 2 successes from these funds that are from the state, it's a huge win for those individuals and their families.
Community.
We benefit from a larger grant this year, so that's not a normal thing. So, are there any questions? No? All right, thank you. We'll bring this on to the regular session tonight.
Okay, next up, we have consider approving the agreement for services between Isabella County and the Tri-County Community Education Tri-Cap in the amount not to exceed 20,000 and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. Basically, this is part of the grant agreement is that we have to have this agreement. So I don't know if you want to mention any more on that.
This is just the contract with Tri-Cap to provide those services to those individuals. It's a pretty standard agreement. We just have to have it so we can use the grant funds and send our clientele there.
Questions? Pretty straightforward. Okay, seeing none, we'll move this forward to the regular session. So, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last item, consider approving the request to hire a circuit court deputy clerk in the clerk's office at a non-union pay grade 8, year 2, step at $19.93 per hour.
You can ask me a question.
Now, and Stephanie, Carrie Cruz was with us for this one as well, since the port from both the clerk's office and the court. I don't know, do you have anything you want to add to this to the commissioners?
This position has been extremely difficult to fill. I think we worked on this so far 10 months, give or take a few. We finally found a candidate that has everything that we need to walk into this position. But the pay just wasn't right to where she could walk in, and we definitely don't want to lose her. So if we can bump it up to that step 2, we'll be able to retain her. And I think the applicant stated they would take the position if that happens. So we're hoping for a yes on this.
It's another situation where that position has been open, so there's been a budget deficit in there because that wage has not been fulfilled. So
Correct. It will not affect the budget at all because we haven't been paying for anyone in that position for as long as the last person held it. So
I'll just add, if I could, that not unusual. We've done this many times over the years. If we find an applicant who is very qualified, and like you said, we can bring them in with very little training and they can go to work right away. It's well worth our while to hire them in at a higher step than the beginning step.
Ground running.
And we're bringing in, hopefully a person will accept, we haven't had a person there for 8 months or 10 months. So, we're finally providing that staff position service and also some workload off of those people who's it's not on their job description. Like increase in pay and getting experience with it as well. So
Win.
definitely a win. Are there any questions?
Just a question for administration. With the issue that we're dealing with at the county administration building, and knowing that we're not going to have access to that building for a while, do you see any kind of negative impact on moving forward with the wage study?
No, absolutely not, Commissioner. In fact, the proposals were due today. As you know, the the pre-bid meeting that we had is mandatory and it sets the vendor pool. We did only have one vendor show up, but they did prepare a thorough and aggressive proposal that's met administrative review today. So I think we have a viable company to move forward with. And really what we're undergoing right now, and we're not sure, we're doing more testing to know exactly when we can access the building again. But what we're going through right now really kind of underscores what the important duties are, what the critical duties are. I think there's probably no better time to bring someone on, honestly, to learn.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, we'll bring that forward to the regular session tonight.
Administrator Curtis.
That, Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Commissioners, and that takes us to Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Okay, our first item is consider approving the fiscal year 2024 recycling infrastructure grant agreement between Isabella County and Eagle in the amount of $900,000 with 20% matching fund of $225,000 to come from the balance of 2% monies allocated to the Isabella County Material Recovery Recycling Program, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have our director, Jake. Break this down.
Good evening, everybody. As you can see, we were fortunate enough to receive a grant from Eagle for $900,000. We'd asked for $1 million total. It's not usual that they get that close to $1 million when we've asked for that much. So I feel extremely fortunate on that side of it. As you can see, the matching to money of $225,000. We have about $360,000 in 2% funding balance as of September 30th. So we have the able to make sure that we can cover that 20% match. As you can see, this is it's a pretty standard grant application or signature form. Does any questions or anything on it?
Is this for infrastructure?
It is. The original grant was for infrastructure for an addition onto the facility, which part of the feasibility study from RRS indicated that a 10,000 square foot addition would give us enough space to be able to run or continue the progress of looking to be able to redo the facility to be able to move to a single stream type facility.
Commissioner Engler.
Yeah, just a real quick comment at our ad hoc committee. The Eagle representative was asking, where's our grant? And it's very rare where they're waiting for us to send the approved application in. So in fact, one of the other counties says, well, if you guys don't want it, we will take it. But so I suggest we get it signed right away and sent in. So rare, but they're actually waiting for the agreement to be signed and sent back in. So
We'll get some ink on it. Hopefully.
Commissioner Embry.
I just want to express my appreciation to Director Borton for the efforts, working very, very hard to help get this facility up and running with the single stream capability. So I appreciate all your efforts. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Commissioner. And I actually have to give a shout out to my operations manager because she's the one that actually applied for this grant. It was under my direction, yes, but she's the one that done the work on it.
Good.
Very much appreciated the work that she's done on this.
Great.
Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, we'll put this on the agenda at the next meeting later today.
Okay, our second item. Consider approving the reorganizational of the Material Recovery Facility, MRF, eliminating the MRF Operations Specialist position and adding a MRF Supervisor position at the non-union pay grade 12 effective immediately. All right, as you can see, with everything, the back history and all of that with the facility. Once we've moved through the feasibility study and into this position where we are setting it today, one of the things that's come about out of all of that, if you're well aware, and that's the changes to Part 115. And so where we're setting on it is that considering that there's the possibility, and it's not just a possibility, because actually I have been asked to sit on Macomb County's Material Management Planning Board. I expect there will be more coming. With that being said, that's taking me out of the office and time that I would normally spend in the operations side of things to be able to keep things flowing. That's part of the reason why the reorganizational side of it and moving, eliminating the operations specialist, moving it to an operations supervisor to be able to make sure that we still have somebody there that has the ability to make the decisions. Not that she hasn't been. We're just wanting to be able to make it so that everything is in accordance with policy and all of that as everything flows through. There is a minimal amount of dollar issue that would come up as far as the difference in what there is in her pay now as to where it would take her of $7,594.23. But with that dollar figure, we've had two positions that currently are unfilled. We've had a part-time processor position and a part-time driver position that has actually been open now for, which has been posted for rehire for approximately 2 months. Both of them positions, like I said, we think that with them openings not being filled and as we continue to work, there will be some budget money left over that we expect will cover most all of this. As far as the budget side of it is concerned. So at this point, my recommendation is to approve the reorganization of the material recovery facility, eliminating the MRF operations specialist position and adding a MRF supervisor position at a non-union pay grade 12 effective immediately. Any questions?
Director Borton, I'm hoping you can speak to the state's MMP requirements for MRF directors to be on county boards or county
Material management.
material management. Do you speak to that a little bit? Because obviously we're looking at possibly having several counties, which will definitely take you away from the MRF here locally. And it could be 4 or 5, it could be 6, 8. We don't know.
And that's exactly that, sir. Part of the requirements with that change in law is that each county, if they choose to do their own material management plan, would have to have, there is very specific requirements as far as a major waste hauler, a MRF operator. There's different business criteria for business owners within the community. Obviously, board representation or the commissioner's representation and all of that. But there's very specific requirements that the state has for these material management boards. So, and that is one of the very specifics.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just a real quick comment as we move forward with the ad hoc committee with the tying in the MMP plans and plus with the MRF agreement, we've done some of the easy stuff. Now it's going to get more complicated as we go forward, especially when we're dealing with several different counties. So it's going to get harder. There's going to be a lot of balls in there. We're juggling around trying to get everything together. So this seems to be a real good move to position ourselves a little better.
I want to thank Jake for stepping up and getting on the boards and just moving forward with this whole process. It actually sets us up as a centrally located facility and we can grow. Any other questions? Yes.
I would say that this move, and for Isabella County is a good move for us to, bring in another person, or not bringing in. Sorry, Jerry, you already know everything, but this gives you the power and position to, step in and have that ability to run the facility. And if we put Jake out to pasture here, so we have someone to fall back on.
Oh, my.
Don't tempt me, sir.
I know you want to go fishing soon.
No, he does.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Actually, I leave Tuesday for Colorado on an elk hunt, so. No, it is, like I said, and that's also things that I have to think about as far as, I do grow closer to retirement, and it puts the county in a very good position as you continue to move forward. And again, I will invite all of you, if you have the time, next Monday at Treetops Resort. Miss Charity will be doing a presentation to the I2P3 accelerator program. Part of that is looking for more funding for us. And then one other thing that I have had a conversation, and I think those of you that was at the ad hoc committee, it was a verbal commitment, and that's all, which, you have to take it at that. But one of the things that I've had a conversation with the recycling partnership, which is TRP in our industry. And they have indicated that they are more than willing to, and he's approaching his investors on the possibility of maybe even another 800,000 towards this infrastructure project. So.
Wow. Very good, sir.
Any other questions? That will move it forward to tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Director Bork.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is consider approving the 24 to 2028 5-year recreation master plan contractual agreement between Isabella County and PM BOC Incorporated for a fee not exceeding $11,800 and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have Alexis Hanson, Parks and Recs Director, here to give us the lowdown on this. Hi, Alexis.
Director Hanson.
So this is a really straightforward contract. We are due to renew our 5-year recreation master plan. It expires December 31st of this year. We received 5 proposals, 5 quotes for this project to bring on a consultant to help us with this plan. PM Blau was the most attractive in terms of their experience, their references, and their price point. So we asked them to come on board for the project. The contract that was submitted with the staff report was reviewed by Attorney Perrone and then sent back to the vendor. And after a few back and forth tweaks, kind of came to an agreement that works for everyone. It's a pretty standard contract. And so we just need to get it approved and signed so that we can move forward on really diving into working on our next 5-year master plan with PM Blau. And just as some quick background, the firm has decades of experience working on these exact type of plans, a lot of experience in writing the grants that these plans are basically created to support. And so I think it's going to be a really positive partner to work with. And we're hoping we can get this signed, and we're looking forward to get started. You will see that the president of the consulting firm has already signed this contract as well.
Any questions or comments at this time for Alexis? Being and hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, and thank you,
Director Hanson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item, consider approving the Region 7 Area Agency on Aging contractual agreement with Isabel County and other documents for fiscal year 2024 and authorize the board chair. We have Jennifer Crawford, our director.
Oh, there. So this is just our annual agreement. This would be entering our 51st year with Region 7 Area Agency on Aging. And with this agreement, they provide funding to supplement our in-home programs and also our Food with Friends programs. About 20% of their budgets come from this grant right here. So the grant would be $257,605 for fiscal year 24.
Okay, I want to thank the area agency. Always helps us, and this is just a great deal for our community. Do we have any other questions? Pretty straightforward. Okay, with that said, we'll move this to tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Director Crawford.
Okay, our next item is consider accepting the Isabella County Drain Commissioner's 2023 annual report as presented, and file the report with Isabella County Clerk. And we have Robert Willoughby, the Isabella County Drain Commissioner. And whoops, I guess, yeah. There. To highlight this report.
Well, I hope you don't want to look up my copy of it because it's on my desk.
Do you have a copy of it in front of you though?
I don't know.
So what's this one?
I can,
We,
You should all have a
Sure.
copy. Okay, okay.
want me to give it to him? I mean, that's okay. No problem.
$43 pages.
Anybody have any questions on it? I guess my.
I think during the meeting, didn't you mention some really old drains that you worked on some this year?
True, we did 60 some drains. We had a meeting in 2 days in here this summer, and we redid the rolls on 63, I think, drains. That the rolls were extremely outdated and the boundaries were, and I know that's what I come across this when we had the flood in 17 with the North Branch area. So we did that whole one, and we're going to keep going on them. We've got the worst ones tackled now, so we can do some smaller ones the next few years, but our rolls were extremely outdated. So,
And how much was the total on all those?
the total, just the drains we redid. Would that be in here?
Yeah, I think it's 3 million or something like that.
The number. It's well, you got legal, you got legals, and then the engineer has to correct your boundary, so. They varied. Some of them were $5,000-6,000, and some of them were significantly more, 50-60. So depends on how big they were and what they entail.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Any petitions for next year yet? Or I know it's a little early yet. Usually they come what? January?
Slow down on that. Nothing new.
And that works with people in the neighborhood. So many people get forward.
Sign a petition to get the public, you're more into it, to have a open public meeting to decide if the work that is going to exceed the maintenance fee has to be.
Well, what we have found, and I've learned since I've been here, is if you get those old drains working at 100%, sometimes there's suffice, because the farmers all weigh in on what a new one's going to cost and what, and compared to what the damage the old one does. And they're usually the ones that turn in the petitions. Blame the farmers.
Now you're gonna have to have me speak because we have more development on farmland that it increases the infrastructure, which changes the way the water runs and everything. So more housing and everything you have built, it added more stress on some of these drains that have been in there for years. So it's not entirely the farmer's fault. We do complain from it a little bit.
I know a longtime employee and then a contractual employee, Bruce Rohr, finally went into retirement. He's had many, many years with the drain office. I don't know if you're looking at any impacts. There's a lot of institutional knowledge that was lost in his retirement, but are you then contracting out engineering in the future?
Yeah, I still talk to Bruce at times. He's working, he's got one little project he's finishing. Yeah. I'm having Tim Beebe do some projects here and there. And then, of course, Pete Lorenz is working on the issues up there with Wademan and Coldwater Lake and that sort of thing. Yeah. But as far as engineering for what I did here with I use Spicer, you know, they've got the bigger team.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move.
Okay, our next item, consider adopting the 2023 drain tax apportionment for Isabel County tax billing.
I don't.
It is what it is. And we've got to move it forward. You collect it.
I do. We sent the bill.
Yep. Time to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills is right. Any questions on this? Annual thing, yes.
I think I just would speak to Commissioner Marino's question earlier. He wanted to know about the total. So since it's not right in front of you, total assessments are $2,131,571.77
Thank you.
across all entities, counties right at large, the townships.
Everything.
That's all assessments, yes.
A big operation, right?
Yes, it is. Okay,
Awesome.
any other questions?
Thank you, Madam Administrator.
That being said, we'll move that to tonight's meeting.
That completes the work of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee then.
Discussion. Yeah, we have one more item.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. The next one is discuss repair options for well number 1 at Lake Isabella Water Supply System.
Well, might as well give you the background on this, the water system. You remember last year we refurbed well number 1. The problem we're having with this, we're well number 2. The problem we have now is we're going to do well number 1. Well number 1 is technically the lead well. It's a bigger motor, bigger pump. And it has a generator, a backup generator in case of a power outage out there. Number 1 takes over and runs the system until the power comes back on. Well, we need to refurb well number 1, and well number 2 does not have a backup power supply. So our company that got the bid for refurbing both wells give us an estimate on supplying a backup generator and then a backup system in the event of a power outage while they have the well out of service. And it's a little more expensive than we expected, but
It's right between them.
Pardon?
It's a quite long distance between the two wells, right?
800 feet between the two, so you're just not gonna run an extension cord out there. No. Plus, you know, and it's, I think 480 volts. Yeah, 440, but it's, well, I think that's a 25 horse motor on well 2 and a 40 horse on well 1. Still a 25 horse motor takes a, you know. 3-phase motor. So. We actually looked into, you know, hot wiring it in the system. That is it's a lot more expensive. That was up in the 40 to 60,000 range, wasn't it? That's what I estimate. Yeah. Estimate. But anyway, what we've got here is a estimate for $8,500 to supply backup power to well 2 while we're servicing well 1.
And so that's,
No, how many customers does this affect?
There's about 300 to 400 customers. There's 225 lots.
Big amount of customers that you just can't leave them hanging in
No.
case something went bad and went down.
Never know, you know, a nice sunny day, we've had the power go out a couple times, so.
Yeah, I mean, anything could cause it. It could be caused from something a long ways away.
Well, that's what this is about, is just making sure that we have power, we complete the repair, and we're all good with everybody out there. Any other questions? Do we move this forward to the night and approve it?
Well, I wouldn't presume that, but you certainly can. And then I know on the regular meeting agenda, you do have a suggested motion there.
okay, that completes, oh, go ahead. You have,
I was just gonna say, thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Can I get that back?
Got it.
Holy Grace Community.
Thank you, commissioners, and we have no intergovernmental affairs, no administrator controller issues. Under unfinished business, we have a discussion item. Johnson Controls Performance Contracting Project, and as you know, Johnson Controls designed this fabulous project for us where we could replace a lot of our HVAC equipment on the admin building, install some solar arrays on the roof of that building and on the courthouse and on this building, actually out in the parking lot. And take care of a lot of energy efficiency items, repairs on all of our buildings. They did a very extensive energy audit of all of our buildings, and came up with this project that I would love to be able to do. And get it all done at once and have it done. In discussions with the two gentlemen to my right, Commissioner Embry and Commissioner Jałosinski, the Finance Committee, and Administrator Controller Frost. And we met with Johnson Controls a couple of times. We've had discussions about it. We kind of felt that the price tag was just too high, just simply. It was too much money. And we just didn't feel the time was right to take that on. We wanted to put that on the agenda as a discussion item to see where the other commissioners were at on that and how they felt about it. So I don't know if you gentlemen want to add anything to that or.
Is that we know we're in a very difficult, challenging time for a number of years in the future. And we don't know how we're going to balance the budget. It's just a very short way down the road. And I was very concerned about taking on more debt. Now, it was supposed to be a neutral expense, that you save energy, you save other costs, but they don't all match up. I mean, yes, we'd save some energy costs up front, and there may be some IRA monies for the solar, but there's money that would be going into capital improvements that was budgeted that we may or may not. Certainly don't have right now. We may not have in the future. And if we can't count on that, it's not going to be a revenue neutral project. So that's been eating at me as, maybe we shouldn't take on more debt, especially when we're looking at going out and asking for 2 mills. The optics of it bothered me. So I'm intending to vote no on the Johnson control. They've done a good job. They've spent a lot of time on this. They've given us a lot of data and given us ideas on how we can proceed. And we've had good counsel from Steve Schumacher. So that's where I'm standing on the vote. Then I guess we won't take a vote if we don't have it move forward, but we'll see. But I'm not in support of it.
Questions?
Here, especially what we got going on right now at this time, it's not probably a good time to go into this. It's going to make a little bit more work for Mr. Shoemaker, but I'm sure he can handle it. So I think a lot of stuff.
I think with Director Schumacher's investigation and direction in this, at least I can see that we could do a lot of these projects on our own for significantly less money and not put such a stress or burden on the county and the taxpayers. I still think in the long run, with county administrator and Director Schumacher's oversight, I think we can come out much further ahead, much sooner, instead of 20 years down the road with the financing that we were going to be getting ourselves into. I think we'll be in a much better financial position staying in-house. So I do want to thank Johnson Controls for the scope, the detailed scope that they provided. We did pay for it. And we have all the information that we need to move forward on our own. And so that's why I don't think we should move forward with Johnson Controls.
I don't disagree with anything said by any of my other commissioners. I think through council with our Steve Schumacher that I'm very comfortable with not moving this forward. I do, want to say that many of these items are critical and very old, and we cannot kick it down the road. So while we're not moving forward with Johnson Controls, and I think it is wise for us to bite off as much as we can, from, year to year, and getting these infrastructure items replaced, like boilers and HVAC systems. I mean, we're talking, obviously administration building it learned is 1972 cornerstone. So very old, inefficient. So, well, I say it's very old, and I was born before that, so. But these are critical items and we have to keep them on the table. We can't kick it down
Anymore.
down the road and hide from structure issues.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to me, it was real exciting to know that. I know that it's a financial challenge. We do have some outcomes involved in this effort that we will pay for, and I think it's very valuable. But I also think that it's possible that we can check out some other companies. Like when I was at the conference, I met a guy from a company, Oresco, which is Carrier Corporation. I've been doing the same kind of thing longer than Johnson Control. And so I don't, shut the door on investigating other companies. And also, since we have that energy audit, I guess you'd call it, you can, that's a big piece of it. And if other companies take a look, they might be able to come in a lot lower than we ended up having at this time. And I know with everything going on with the financial condition, you know, you really got to be careful the way we do this, but I also think we got to do something. Can't just, like Commissioner Sweeney said, we can't just kick the can down the road.
Totally agree with Commissioner Swain. This is something that we really got to stay on top of. There's a lot of things that are just plain old, and we've got to take care of them. With that being said, I think in the near future, you're still going to see a lot of different programs come out there that we might jump on and take advantage of on our own, as far as solar panels and so keep the door open for a lot of things, but we agree with everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to mention to the rest of the board, I know in our budget, we've worked towards making sure we're putting money aside every year, whereas apparently that hasn't happened since before I got on board. And we're putting a significant amount of money away in order to avoid kicking that can down the road moving forward. So while the money's getting set aside, obviously can't get us all caught up immediately. I'm hoping that over time, we can get back to where if an item does come up that needs to be replaced, we already have the money and we're not looking for it and trying to figure out where we're going to find it. So I applaud Madam Administrator and MEDOC for working that into our current budget so that we start putting that money away. So down the road, we won't have this problem.
I would agree 100% with that. I don't think capital improvement has really been at the forefront of our thinking over the years, and it needs to be.
Could be.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to say this is a positive that came out of it because it's not a positive, but it did to meet the requirements of making improvements for HVAC. We had to do the testing for hazardous materials in the building. So it did open up a potential problem. And we're hoping that the problem isn't real serious. Some of the initial things coming back is that it's not as serious, but we're going to have to take care of that problem. And, you know, if the building had some improvements sooner, we'd have been putting through this study sooner and probably discovered the possibility of asbestos contamination sooner. So you can see we've waited all these years to do very little. So there was a kind of a positive, negative outcome, but the question I do have is if we don't move this forward, we don't have to take action on it. We just inform Madam Administrator to inform Johnson Control.
That is correct. You might, I think the only action going forward you might have to take in this regard would be a budget amendment when we incorporate the cost of the energy audit. That's already been approved by the board through the contract.
Right.
That's been signed.
Well, I can say one thing too, because Clinton County did an energy study when I was employed over there. And I think that was like $76,000, but that set the county up, prepared them for grant applications that became available. So this information that we have is very good information to have that we can use as data for applications for grants if they become available.
Good point. And Commissioner Jelzinski, you mentioned the the testing that was necessary in preparation of replacing equipment and the fact that we found asbestos in the building. And Administrator Controller, I don't know if you want to speak to that. I know we met with the contractor that's doing the testing Friday, and I don't know if you wanted to give everyone a little update.
Sure.
Where we're at with
I'd be
that?
happy to do that. So basically, we met with the contractor on Friday. I'm sorry, was it Friday?
I think it was.
The days are certainly melding together. But what we found out was that the sampling that was done was just that, really, was a sampling. And we really, to be confident as to whether we can re-enter the building, and whether we need to re-enter the building with any protections, we've asked the tester to do further, more comprehensive testing of all 3 levels of the county administration building, to include all office suites. I think that's important. So that the testing was done this morning, today. The testing was completed today. It takes, as we know from the original sampling, takes a few days to get the results back from the, I'm going to try to say the long name. Pardon? No, the TEM samples, the microscopic, I can't say the word, but those samples take a few days to analyze. They will tell us if there's particles in the air and what the particles are and at what concentrations. And so we'll have that back. The guess is late Friday. We're hoping to set up a Monday morning meeting with the contractor is what we're working towards right now. So the offices that have relocated will continue to function in their alternate location, at least for another week until we know more. We're hoping ideally for a time frame where we can re-enter that building and grab things that would make operating in our alternate locations a lot more successful. And we're planning for the worst.
Thank you.
And this latest testing was a lot more aggressive than the others. They brought in fans and.
Yes, it's actually, it is an aggressive test. They don't just come in and take an air sample. They move the air quite aggressively to make sure that they're mixing it up, right? To make sure that they're not testing an environment where there's no people or no movement and hey, it's safe, come back in. And now there's people in movement, right? So that's a really good point. It is more sampling and aggressive testing.
Best case scenario. I know you're preparing for the worst, but what's the best case scenario in regard?
Best case scenario is that we could somehow occupy the building during abatement activities, but we need to know concentrations. That would be the probably the best case scenario. That wasn't a sign, right?
Okay. So you'll keep us abreast of that situation in the event that you could go back in during the abatement process.
Absolutely. That will be very structured and organized and yes.
Then I ask, because I intend to be there. I'll spend as much time there. If these folks are going back in, then I'm going back in. So I think we need to set that example that we're willing to.
I know it's been hard. I've heard it from a lot of employees that you've worked there 20 years, they worked there 30 years. You know, what is different? Why is it more hazardous today? What is different about today? Today we know, and today we're choosing not to send our employees back in until we know it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out not only to the other departments in the county and especially to Commission on Aging for hosting us in trial court. But our community partners really have come forward too. I have space at the city. I have space at the tribe. You know, I have space at Michigan Works. They're really all reaching out to help us. So it's really fantastic. Operations are ongoing and we're only gonna get better from here.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
I,
Commissioner?
I would like to express my personal opinion that I would not be in favor of bringing employees in until the building hazardous waste has been abated and is cleared, even if we have air samples. We know that there's asbestos there. It needs to get abated. I'm not willing to send employees in. I know I'm one of 7 votes, and it is a no vote for employees to go in. It's a hard no for me.
Any other comments along that, on that issue or with the performance contracting issue before we wrap that up and move on? And seeing none, we will move on. New business. We have consider approving the 2023 October apportionment report as presented by the Equalization Department. And I see Mr. Preston here.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
This is, usually I like to joke that these are hot off the press. These are definitely hot off the press. My apologies for not being able to get it through the normal committees that worked on it. But here it is, and thank you.
I think
again.
they've successfully punished you tonight.
I was able to sit and be somewhat productive, so that is a challenge. Well, once again, thank you to Judy Niznak for putting this together. This is one of the most comprehensive apportionment reports that I've seen at a county level. I am very guilty of going on the system myself, entering in the hard data and asking the system just to spit out something. Judy goes above and beyond. What this is, if you recall, the last time I was here, you folks did your 4029 form establishing what your millage is. Well, all the other local units do that as well to establish what they wish to levy in the summer. They also do that before June if they're able to levy in the winter. They also do that for the summer as well. This is a compilation of all of those millages as levied. And what the state law requires is for the Board of Commissioners for equalization to compile this information and for the board to authorize, because we have verified at this time that there's no millages in excess of anything that they should be under. Again, this is when the state system that we fill this out spits out approximately a 6-page report. And I'm not saying full 6 pages, some of it's just the top quarter. So you have a lot of information here, but just realize that the information presented is just a compilation of data we've received. Now, we'll say one outstanding issue is that Coleman Public Schools does have a ballot issue in November. So that may change this report slightly, and we will be back to present that for that change. I'll be happy to answer any questions you folks may have.
Questions for Mr. Preston? I have none, and we're used to getting this, at the seventh, at the last minute, so. We understand that's not your fault.
A lot of data.
Yep. Okay, if there are no questions for Mr. Preston, we will move right along.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Down to general public comments. Anyone for general public comments?
Dr. Bills, all right. My evening is saved.
Like a celebrity, man. Connie Lee Bills, Union Township. just wanted to say, I really was impressed with the Johnson Controls project when I heard about it here. And I'm really glad you guys voted it down because it's a lot of money. And so that's just my personal opinion, nothing to do with Union Township. And the other thing is women's basketball, CMU women's basketball, get your season tickets now. We got a new coach, we got a new team. Everything's going to be great. That's all I've got today.
Got maroon and gold scrimmage this weekend, right?
Yeah,
Sunday.
I've got a conference, so
Oh,
people probably do, but I can't.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes. Anyone else for general public comment?
Good evening, Dave Barbary, prosecuting attorney. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and to applaud those that have been involved with the recent displacement from our administrative building. County admin and emergency management acted very quickly, and I was very impressed with how quickly everybody coalesced as a team to get out of the building, get what we needed, and really set up shop at various remote locations throughout the county. Going forward, I just wanted to at least express my thoughts. Commissioner Sweeney mentioned that he would not be interested in returning anyone to the building. And I'm not saying that I'm in favor or not in favor of that at this point, but I know that everybody is displaced and it's very challenging right now to conduct business. So my thoughts are, as the commissioners look at this process, is to look at someone else that's gone through this before. We're not looking at it as though it's COVID. It's not a novel thing. A lot of old buildings go through asbestos abatement projects. So I just want everyone to kind of look at that before we sink into major expenses associated with getting us out and being out long term. I know that, talking to my own employees and looking at some of the figures and the information that the administrators shared with the electeds, the numbers are below OSHA standards. They're below K-12, and I'm trying to remember the name of the microscopy test that they said they did as well. Those are below K-12 numbers. So I think those are important things to evaluate when determining whether or not we can return. No one wants to expose somebody to a health risk. No one does. But at the same time, if we're able to safely work in there without disturbing the asbestos and being able to conduct business in there for a period of time, whether it's 2 months or things of that nature before we're asked to leave, I think that's something that my employees would prefer. And I think I would encourage you to ask every employee and every elected and all the departments to give some insight on that. And that's really, I guess, all I was wanting to say. We've gone through, we've gotten a lot of the tests, we're getting the tests, and we're continuing to evaluate the data. And I just hope that we use that data to develop the model, the decision-making model that we're going to use going forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else for general public comment?
Oh, we're waiting. I'm just going to try it. I'm going to attempt this. TEM stands for transmission electron microscopy.
Microscopy. Okay.
I'd just like to echo basically what Dave had said, the same thing. Nobody wants to take employees or to go into a situation that might endanger their lives. On the other hand, I have employees that are emphasizing the situation that they've been through this at other places where they've worked, where plastic was put up and they work next to the plastic and they can't understand, what makes this different. I have a daughter at Central that just went through it last year. They moved everything to one side, put plastic over it. They worked on the other side. Then they switched. everything went to the other side. Plastic was on, the side that they had worked in before. I think that, it depends on obviously what those levels are and if those levels are low enough. But I think that the employees are kind of at a frustration point. We know, like, as elected, we know it's not your fault that it takes a while for these tests to come back. The employees, the problem is they're losing trust and you guys are losing credibility. I think that we need to be careful because we are going to have to go for a millage and we don't want to lose credibility with our community. So we need to make some type of a decision and everybody be on the same page. That's just my thought.
Thank you. What else for general public comment?
I have one, but do you want me to go up there or sit right here?
Whatever you prefer.
I was just gonna basically report on the county clerk's office. We have been working great for the past 2 days. We've serviced about 80 people. Everything is up and running and people are very happy. The only two things that we are not able to do currently would be fingerprinting. So we're sending them to the sheriff's department and they can make an appointment at the sheriff's department and passport photos, but they can still go to Walgreens. I guess I'm kind of different than the prosecutor and the register of deeds because until I know, no matter what the levels are at, I will not allow my employees to go back into the county building. I have to think of their safety first and their health. I've had grandparents who have been around this now suffer from lung cancer. So I just want to make sure that, I protect my employees and they're doing a great job right now. And I thank you guys for basically putting us all above everything else. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any comments? Seeing none, commissioners, any announcements? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 6:52 and we'll start the regular session at 7 or as soon after 7 as possible.
Okay.